Nets said the 27-year-old will miss the rest of the 2023-24 campaign because treatment options with the hope of returning for the 2024-25 season.
As you guys know, it is officially the NBA offseason, which means this is approximately the time that we typically get this grandiose update from Ben Simmons, who promises us to return to all-star form before inevitably failing miserably. And to be honest, last year he got me. But before we get to the content, we are less than 25,000 subscribers away from hitting 1 million subscribers. Want to help us get this goal? Make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we got all that out of the way, do the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? There isn't a player in the NBA that I have more of a disdain for than Ben Simmons. I mean, the only other player that I could dislike as much as Ben Simmons would probably be DeAndre Ayton. The reason for this is both of these players were former #1 overall picks. Both of these players had God-given talent given to them. I mean, Ben Simmons is a 6'10" point forward. He was supposed to be the next coming of LeBron James. And to be honest, the comparisons actually made sense this time because both Ben Simmons and LeBron James played very similarly before entering the NBA. I mean, yes, Ben Simmons didn't necessarily possess LeBron James's all-world athleticism, but he wasn't too far behind. His playmaking and basketball IQ was tremendously admired. His abilities as a defender could not be understated, and this man just needed to work on one thing in order to become a NBA Hall of Famer. And as the late great Kobe Bryant would say himself,
well, he's got to get a jump shot. It's like, it sounds humorous and all that, but I'm dead serious. You can't, because if not, he'll regret it. When his career is over.
And it's kind of crazy because the same thing was expected from DeAndre Ayton, which we'll make another video on DeAndre Ayton soon. But in the case of Ben Simmons, he had everything he could have possibly wanted. A future MVP running mate in Joel Embiid, an aggressive front office that did whatever they could to potentially build a team around him. Yes, some of the moves that this front office made were whiffs, and honestly, there wasn't anything that this front office could do about it. It's not their fault that Markelle Fultz lost his abilities as a jump shooter. This front office also traded for Jimmy Butler as well, before deciding to pay Tobias Harris over him. All right, maybe some of this is the front office's fault, but throughout Ben Simmons' prime years, you can't deny the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers had one of the best constructed rosters in the entire NBA. They had a head coach that was more than capable of taking them where they needed to go, in Brett Brown. And honestly, if it wasn't for this Kawhi Leonard game winner in 2019, perhaps the career of Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, and even JJ Redick would have been significantly different. Through it all, Ben Simmons has been the same player each and every year, averaging the same averages throughout the season of about 14 to 17 points per game, anywhere from 1 to 2 steals per game, anywhere from 7 to 8 assists per game, and around 8 rebounds per game. For what he lacked offensively, he easily made up for defensively, always having a defensive box plus minus of about a 2. But eventually, teams started to catch on to Ben Simmons' weakness, the fact that he was not willing to work on a jump shot to make him that cheat code that could eventually win multiple championships. So it was very simple, just dare Ben Simmons to shoot, and these shooting woes eventually translated to the free throw line. Ben Simmons' lack of mental fortitude really came under the spotlight during the Philadelphia 76ers 2021 playoff campaign, which would be Ben Simmons' final playoff campaign with the Philadelphia 76ers. In this brutal Game 7 versus the Atlanta Hawks, where Ben Simmons was expected to carry quite a load in order to get the Philadelphia 76ers into the Eastern Conference Finals, Ben Simmons completely disappeared, going 2 of 4 from the field with 8 rebounds, 13 assists, which is quite impressive, but no one's going to remember that because the most famous instance of this game came when Ben Simmons passed up a wide open dunk in order to avoid getting to the free throw line. You see, Ben Simmons throughout his career up until this point was depending on his God-given talent in order to win games, and while that might work in your rookie year or your sophomore year, going into your 4th season in the NBA without trying to improve at all whatsoever is just lazy. And Doc Rivers, of all people, would call out Ben Simmons after the game, and he claims this was unintentional, but does this seem unintentional to you?
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
But following that, the mentally feeble Ben Simmons had enough. His ego was shattered by his own head coach. His 76ers teammates begged him to come back, but Ben Simmons' mind was already made up. He was even willing to get fined each and every single game just to not suit up for the Philadelphia 76ers, eventually getting traded to another admirable situation in the NBA. It's kind of mind-boggling how this keeps happening to Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons went from teaming up with Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Tyrese Maxey to teaming up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And this is the craziest part. Ben Simmons still refused to play for the rest of the season. Apparently, he suffered a back injury during this period of 1 year where he didn't do any basketball activity at all whatsoever. When the Brooklyn Nets finally made it to the playoffs to face off against the Boston Celtics, Kevin Durant's teammates begged him to check in for at least 5 minutes of the game. The philosophy in acquiring Ben Simmons was that what he may lack in the half-court offense, he would surely make up for defensively. Maybe he can lock up Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant could focus on the scoring. Maybe this works out, but Ben Simmons refused to check in at all. And when he finally did play the year after, we saw him for what he truly was, a player that averaged 6.9 points per game with 6 assists and 6 total rebounds. After 42 games played for the Brooklyn Nets, the Nets decided that maybe it's time to blow it all up, trading Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant at the trade deadline and bringing in players like Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Cam Johnson. Now, I don't like accusing players of faking injuries, and I'm not trying to insinuate that, but at the same time, I think it's kind of peculiar that the moment the Nets acquired 3 brand new forwards that are way more capable than Ben Simmons went to the bench. And what doesn't help things is the fact that Jacques Vaughn, the coach of the Nets at the time, said that he didn't really know what to do with Ben Simmons.
It's going to be some work that we have to do because you just take a look at what the lineups could potentially look like. Put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around it. Then if you put a playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball. Then if you go small with Ben, then you got to figure out, can you rebound enough with him? The challenges are ahead of us. We'll look them head on. We'll figure it out. We have the personnel to figure it out. Whether it is me mixing and matching throughout different pieces of the game and allowing him to have a group and run with a group, that part we'll figure out. But you see the challenges that lie ahead.
So at this point, the Nets were stuck. You essentially have a player that is a max contract that has 0 value at all whatsoever, that is just occupying cap space. This clearly handicaps your ability to be competitive, even though you have Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Cam Johnson. And the worst part of all is that the Brooklyn Nets couldn't tank because of Ben Simmons. This man was literally sabotaging a franchise. But last offseason, Ben Simmons' teammates started to believe in him again. Mikal Bridges said this about him during a podcast.
This is my guy. I got big confidence. I got big faith in him more this year. His back was messed up now. Got surgery. He's getting back. But he loved the game, bro. I think he's in a good place. All of us, we're close. He's the one talking in the chat all the time, and we all with him. And obviously, we want him to score and stuff, but we ain't pressed about it. You just want to be him, be aggressive.
How do you find ways you can be a support system for him?
Just be there with him, man. Support him. Even if you struggle, whatever, that's cool. Wherever city we go hang out, go get dinner, whatever, get ready for the next one. I think that's the biggest thing, is just he could be confident enough to fail and know, we're there for him. You don't want nobody you feel that pressure every single time, if I don't play well, these guys might not like me. Nah, for me, that's not the case. I'll just try to be there. I'm listen, bro, you struggle. We're here for you. We want to be there through the process. If you shoot 5 middies in a row, you miss all 5, shoot the 6th one. You know what I'm saying?
Royce O'Neal said that Ben Simmons has been working.
Boy, being over there in the cut, getting right. Yes, sir.
You You got this whole article from Mark J. Spears where Ben Simmons seemed very at peace with where he was in his career, saying, "I'm excited because I know I can do it. That's the exciting part for me." Last Thursday night, I'm like, yo, let's get back in the gym. I'm excited. It's like,
Whoa, you finally are inspired to work on your game? This is crazy.
all right, it took a little time, but better late than never, Ben. I just want you to remember how insane this article was. I mean, he would also say, for me to come back and dominate people will be great. I don't intend to come back the same player I was last season because that's not even close to where I am. I get excited because I'm like, damn, I would blink on the player I was last year, but I knew where I was at last year, so it's easy to say that. But it's just fun to go and do the thing that you love when you're out there. That's really it for me. I don't really ask for too much. And what off season wouldn't be complete without Ben Simmons showing off that he has a jumper? Photos of Ben Simmons working out would hit the media. And then of course you would get this interview from Ben Simmons.
I'm still fast, I can still jump high, I'm still strong, so yeah.
So how is all this fair? Well, Ben Simmons would look pretty dominant in the preseason, I'd admit. And hell, I always admit to you guys, I even fall for this stuff sometimes. I mean, you even got a signature Ben Simmons breakaway slam. This looks like prime Ben Simmons over here. But just 2 weeks into the new season, Ben Simmons would average the same numbers as he did last year. And then after 15 games played, he'd be shut out for the rest of the season. Which brings us to where we are currently. I shouldn't laugh, but I feel like I've seen this movie way too many times. It's like I bring you guys this update over and over and over again. I mean, I'm literally running out of titles for this topic. How many times could I say Ben Simmons is doing it again? At a specific point, I expect you guys to look at the title of this video and say,
Okay, Mike, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ben Simmons is totally back.
According to the New York Post, Ben Simmons is expected to be 100% by the time the season starts. For the love of God, stop jinxing it, man. We're gonna get GTA 6 before Ben Simmons is fully healthy. And here's the thing, the Brooklyn Nets are actually gassing this up. Deshaun Mark said in an interview, it's been a very difficult couple of years for Ben. I mean, to have him play as few games as we've had, to go through back surgeries, you never wish that on anybody. For him, it's getting back mentally, physically ready to play. And by all accounts, at this particular point in the summer, he's been working out with his group in Miami, and by all accounts, he feels good and is trending in the right direction. I know he wants to get out there, and this is a big year for us because he's part of our franchise, but it's a big year for Ben. He's young enough that he can rekindle some of his to get back to his old form. And once again, his teammates believe in him. It's like we got a healthy Ben back, and with the stuff that we're able to do with him in the lineup last year, I think there's a lot of potential. Maybe I'm just a casual, but what the fuck were you able to do with Ben Simmons on the court last year? The man at this stage of his career is a glorified Draymond Green if he feels like playing. At the end of the day, what I think is going to happen with Ben Simmons is he's going to play out this year of his contract in Brooklyn, then he's probably going to sign with the Miami Heat, and I think the Miami Heat culture would be really good for him, or he's just going to turn out to be what Victor Oladipo turned into in Miami. Player that's too injured to do anything, unfortunately. At the end of the day, man, I don't want bad for anybody. I guess I'm just a little bitter watching a man that has God-given talent not leverage it into fulfilling his fullest potential. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you believe it this time? Do you think Ben Simmons is fully healthy this time? I like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.